This morning we've got a really exciting morning, and we're talking about how to thrive in community. And we're going to have some people up in a few minutes, but before we get there, I'm just going to share for a few minutes something that I wanted to say before I even start that's really exciting for Hannah and I. Many of you will know we have a son with special needs, and we've been believing for freedom around his life for years now. And something that we felt a little while ago, a few months ago, was to really start speaking directly to his taste buds and calling his taste buds to come alive. One of the limitations that he has is that his diet is incredibly limited. And there was a time where he would basically only eat potato. And, we're talking limited. But he'd have fries, and then he'd have different types of potatoes, different shapes, but it was potato. And so, we started to pray and believe for his taste buds to come alive. And we've seen progress. But in the last month or so, he would never eat anything with sauce on it. He would never eat anything that was had strong flavors, And in the last month or so, he just started saying, "Can I have this? Can I have that?" And he'd see on the TV, a bit of food that would come on an advert, and he's like, "I want to try that." And so we'd go out and buy it, and he would just down it. And about a week or two ago, we do our Sunday tradition of McDonald's, our Sunday roast, and for Elijah it was nuggets every week, nuggets and chips. And a couple of weeks ago, or a week or so ago, he said, "I want a Big Mac." And when we've tried to give him anything that's burgers or anything like that before, it's like remove the lettuce, remove the sauce, remove the thing, remove everything, and he basically just eats the bun, And this time, we get the Big Mac, and he just chomps his way through it, the whole lot. And I could go on and on and on and on about thing after thing after thing after thing that he's eaten in the last few weeks. Crazy flavors, crazy everything. And it's like his senses are coming alive. And, he's looking out the window and he's going, "Wow, look at the sky. Look at the stars. Look at this, look at that." Taylor came down all dressed up a few weeks ago. And he's like, "Wow, Taylor, you look amazing." His smell. What's that smell? Can you smell the flowers? Can you smell the cooking? Can you smell this? Can you smell? And it's like God is removed another layer. And I just want to challenge you this morning. What are you speaking over the situations in your life? Are you speaking over, "This is rubbish, this is pain, I'm struggling, this is this"? Or are you speaking life? Are you calling for things to come to life and to come into line with what Jesus is talking about? So it's been so exciting for us, and we just see change after change after change after change. We fully believe autism is gone. We fully believe that. And we are dealing with the leftover remnants, habits, and things that are just being dealt with one by one. Anyway, we're talking about thriving in community, and I've just got a few minutes before we start, and with the interview, and I was just thinking, what do I talk about? And I really felt God say to me, just share what thriving in community has been like for you. And many of you will know that Hannah and I are moving to Australia later this year. And we're moving because we feel God has said, this is the next season of your life. And when we think about this church, Hannah's been here for 30 years. I've been here 23 years. And we've spent our adult lives in this community. And somebody said to me, are you leaving because you're offended? And I thought, gosh, I remember back in year one of being here, I got offended about something, and probably every year since then. And it's like, we have to make decisions that are not based around that. I'm only going to get offended somewhere else if I go somewhere else, When you do community, you will get offended. But you've got to make a choice that it's not about whether you can't come into relationship with people and not have difficult conversations, have difficult things happen. That's part of community. But it's really caused this season, we're really excited, we're really sad, we're happy, we're scared, we're all these emotions all in one. But it's really caused us to think about what has this season of our lives, been like. And I I remember in the early days of coming here, I remember, I would be leading worship and struggling in a service to get to a place where I feel like we had a good presence of God and things were flowing, that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, Ashley would walk up on the platform and just go, ha, ha, ha. And the presence of God would come and everyone would be, and you think, what's going on here? And then, I'd travel sometimes with Ashley and we'd go into pastors' homes and he'd ask them questions and talk about their lives and that. And I'd say to him after, I'm like, that's a very direct question to be asking, And he'd just be like, Jared, we don't have time to mess about. I'm here for one day, And that shaped me. Having that time and having somebody to talk, no, like, try this, do this, think about this. What do you feel God's saying? That shaped me. And, you might think, well, you're in a church. Of course you're going to learn about spiritual things. But it's not just spiritual things. I remember in the early years of Hannah and I being married, we had arguments that were reoccurring, things that would come up consistently all the time for years and years. And, I remember at times we would say, we need to talk to somebody about this because we're just going round and round in circles, the same argument again and again. And so, it would be a phone call to David and Jackie, can we come round and have a chat, please? I need to sort my wife out, And I remember we would get round there, and inevitably this is how it would go. Hannah would say, this is what I'm feeling, and David and Jackie would be sitting there going, like this. And then I would say how I'm feeling, and David would be sitting there going, like this. That shaped me. It did. It shaped me because they're saying, Jared, that's not how you operate in a relationship. Jared, that's not how, as a husband, you speak to your wife, or that's not how you treat your wife, or that shaped me. I remember coming back, Hannah and I didn't have sex before we were married. And I remember coming back from a honeymoon and I'm like, I've got questions. I have got questions. And I thought, I can Google, but sometimes there are things you don't want to hear from Google. You don't want to learn from Google. You need people in your life that you can go and ask the awkward questions. I remember coming back and asking the questions. I remember maybe 10 years ago or so, Hannah and I started to renovate houses. And but when I was growing up, I had zero interest in DIY or anything. My dad was really good at it. He would have loved to have taught me, but I just wasn't interested. When I told them that I'd bought a hammer, they burst out laughing. They're like, what are you going to do with that? But I remember time after time for a period of a number of years where I would call up Steve McGrath and say, I'm trying to do this. I can't work it out. Can you come round and help me? Steve would so graciously come round, inevitably shake his head, what the heck have you done? But really, Steve spent hours and hours helping me, and it shaped me to the point where Hannah and I were able to go on and renovate homes, and actually I worked full-time doing that for years because somebody took the time to invest into my life. I can think of so many conversations that I've sat and had with Dave talking about the things of life. And Dave would be like, how are you feeling about that? I'm like, I'm not feeling anything. I don't really feel about that sort of thing, But sometimes, for me, I'll speak for me, not for all mankind, but for me, not always hard to connect to the emotions and to really understand what I'm feeling and why I'm acting in a certain way. Dave has been a master of that, asking the right questions and saying, Jared, have you thought that maybe this? Or, oh, really? Thinking about that. I can think of so many times that I've sat and discussed the things of life with Jamie. We've spent many, many hours talking about things like asking each other questions, talking about what do we believe about this? What do we think about this? Life in community is like that. And if you could put up Galatians 6 for me. Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fail in the same temptation yourself. Share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ. If you think you're too important to help someone, you're only fooling yourself. You're not that important. I would say the opposite is true. If you think you're not good enough to help someone, you're only fooling yourself as well. Because I really, truly believe we all have something to offer, to each other. It says to carry each other's burdens. And, I've had the privilege over the years to help people as well. As many people as have helped me. I've been able to do the same, and it brings such joy to do that. The last year or so, I've been part of a guys group that, we meet up and we chat. We've been chatting about business things. We chat about money. We chat about what God is saying and that sort of thing. So much fun. Have absolutely loved it. Getting in community, sharpening each other, and challenging each other to do life together. It's really easy to sit on the edge and not allow yourself to be shaped. It's really easy to stay quiet when things are overwhelming. Hannah and I have spoken many times about some of the challenges we face. Going through bankruptcy, I remember we sat quiet in that season. We didn't tell anybody for a long time. Felt ashamed, felt many feelings around that. But then when we actually got to sit with people who could help us and teach us how to manage our finances better, what a difference that made. What a difference to our lives that it changed. To be able to sit with people who are struggling with fertility, getting pregnant. To be able to sit with them, let's pray with you. We've been there. We understand the feelings. People with children with special needs. We understand it. We can sit with you. Let's talk. Let's pray together. Let's believe for this. Have you thought about this? That is life in community. This morning, we're talking about a new initiative here in church, Thrive. And it's really exciting. It's an aspect that we want to be able to help people. We want people to be able to connect with each other. And when you're finding something difficult or when you need to learn something, particularly around finances is what we're talking about today, then we want people to be able to come alongside you and help you, support you, build you, and encourage you. So I want to welcome up Simon and Ruth and Simon. They're going to come up right now. Great. He's made it. Fantastic. Simon and Ruth head up our Next Steps team, and this initiative Thrive is going to be running as part of Next Step team. Simon, on the end there, is someone who's really passionate about helping people, and so we're going to hear a little bit from him as well. But first of all, Simon and Ruth, why don't you just tell us what Thrive is all about, what the heart behind it is?
Okay, well, the first thing God said when he was just about to create mankind, humanity, he said, be fruitful, be fruitful. Jesus said, abide in me, and my words abide in you, and you will pray, and you'll be fruitful. God is more of a gardener than a builder. I'm convinced about that. I know Jared loves his building, but I love my gardening. And, when God created humanity, he put them in a garden. He didn't put them in a 3-bedroom semi-detached house. He didn't put them in, sky-rise block of flats. He put them in a garden. And I know that God wants us to be fruitful in every area of our lives. And let's face it, in the current environment we're living in the world, there's lots of reasons not to thrive. But we are part of God's kingdom. We are of the kingdom of heaven, and we can thrive. And the third thing that God said was, it's not good for you to be alone. It's not good for man to be alone. I can speak that definitely from personal experience. It was not good for me to be alone until I met Ruth. And we need each other. Jared's talked about that. We need each other. So Thrive is all about being fruitful with each other. And you stole my first scripture, so I'm just going to read just a couple of others here. Don't just pretend to love others, really love them. When God's people are in need, be ready to help them. That's from Romans. A spiritual gift is given to each of us so we can help each other. As each part does its own special work, it helps the other parts grow so that the whole body is healthy and growing and full of love. That's what Thrive is about. So that the whole body of CityCoast Church is thriving, healthy, fruitful, multiplying wherever we are in life. That's enough for me, anyway.
Amazing. Can you tell us how it's going to work? What does this look like?
Okay, so just a quick backtrack. This first came to light with a conversation in 17 Graham. Don't you love them up the road? 17 grams up there. We were having a conversation about the cost of living at the moment and how it was affecting us. And Jamie came in to talk to us about something different, and we spent the whole morning talking about challenges really around money and finances. And when you start thinking about that, that covers so much of our lives, from how we spend money to if we're self-employed and we need to make money. Just the cost of food. I was talking to a member of my family the other day, and the budget for food has gone up a lot. I don't know if you notice it or whether you're just like me that just shoves it all in the trolley and hopes for the best. Housing and accommodation, prices there. People I know found themselves homeless just because of, losing a job. Benefits, it can feel really shameful to have benefits, but again, another member of my family has been on benefits and gone through that process and understands what it's like. So they're just some of the needs we were talking about. So what the process, it sounds really sort of structured, doesn't it? But basically, I know all of us are facing some of these challenges. So within Next Steps, what we want to do is help you find your next step. And that can happen in a variety of ways. You can either, by talking to one of us online, you can fill something in really simply. One of the team can then help you identify what the needs are and look at options. And then we can help by identifying another person, either from our community or other connections that we have across the city in other churches, they can then meet with you and help you to go forward. And that can be like doing a budget, or it could be actually you've got massive debts and you just need to find a way of dealing with those. We're not the experts here at all. We're just the connectors. I think that's probably how it's going to work, isn't it? And also, just one other thing. I know it can be quite daunting to go somewhere for help. So a member of the team is really happy to come along too. I've had people come with me for things that are just there. They're listening when I'm looking like a scared rabbit. They're taking notes and they can cheer me on and support me. So that's it, I think, Jared, for now and how it's going to work.
Amazing. Our community is full of incredible people. And often we don't know who's even sitting on our row. There literally can be people beside us that do incredible things that we have no idea about. And the community is full of them. One of those people is Simon Ritchie here. This guy's incredible. Tell us a little bit about your journey in business, what you do.
So, I'm Simon. Nice to meet you. Some of you may recognize me as the person who sometimes just prances around on the stage with a guitar. So excited, actually. So I've been here in the church for 20 years. For most of those years, I would never, ever want to be on this stage. I would sort of just be lurking at the back, often just sneaking in right at the end before they take register, just so that they knew I was here, so they could, keep my parents updated. That's it. So just a bit about me. So the verse was, be fruitful and multiply. We've been working on that. So I have 4 wonderful kids with my wife here in the church. About me. So I moved to Brighton for university. I went to Brighton University. I did an accounting and finance degree. I wasn't smart enough to do maths, so I thought I'd do accounting. And then I went on into business and started working in finance. I realized that accounting is actually very structured, which is not really me. I'm more of I'm going to ride my skateboard and surfboard kind of person. But I loved technology and finance, and my career has been mostly in the space around data, understanding data, creating reports, helping leaders to understand what's going on based on the data so they can make good decisions. A few years ago, I moved into technology, so I moved into work for software businesses, So I worked with a very successful technology startup based in San Francisco. In my time there, we grew from 100 people to 2,000 people. So it was a really hyper-growth experience. Great to be part of that. I had tremendous opportunities to grow, to scale teams, to build teams. And I moved into the area, I discovered that I love building and solving problems at scale. So once I'm one of those people, like, I see problems and I think about, okay, how could I solve that so that everyone doesn't have that problem anymore? And so that sort of led me onto the journey. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm actually working on a new startup. So middle of last year, we'd been working on an idea in this company where I was working, and they ran out of money and they couldn't afford to keep running this project. And I was very passionate about this project, so I said, why don't I take that idea and a small team, save you a lot of money, and I will go and run that as a new startup. So that's where I'm at right now. We're working on a startup. It's called Blocks, and we're an ambitious, running fast startup. We raised venture money, so we've raised money to try and build the product. It's going to take us a couple of years to build it. We've already raised nearly £500,000, raising some more at the moment. So we're ambitious, we're going after it. I'm in this new season. I've never run a business before. And that's where it kind of comes to why I thought I'd love to work with Thrive, is that I've learned in this last season that there are a lot of things that you don't know. I've been involved in high-growth, ambitious businesses, but I've not done it myself. I've not had to do sales and marketing before. And so when I went out and started trying to sell and build a website and do all this marketing, I realized, wow, I just don't know a lot of this stuff. So I've been asking for help. And through that, I realized actually there are things that I know that I can contribute, and there are things that I need help from others. And so I've learned how to ask for help. And so I just thought when the info came along, I thought, yeah, I'd love to do that. I think you get a lot as you help others. And I've been getting a lot of help recently, so there you
go. I remember a few years ago asking Simon how his week had been on one Sunday, and he's like, I went to New York to ring the stock exchange.
That's right.
Ring the bell on the stock exchange because we floated the company this week. I'm like, I thought you were an accountant. Like, what the heck do you do? So why are you so passionate about helping people? What is it that makes you want to take your time when you're busy?
Yes.
And trying to learn so much yourself in this season? Why are you interested in helping others?
Yeah. I've always loved helping others. I think you get a lot as you help as well. So I've just been relying so much on people. I've been networking to meet other people, asking them questions, asking them how I can help them, and that will often they'll often then turn around and ask me the same question: how can I help you? I just absolutely love people. One of the actual idea for the company that I'm working on came during COVID. There was a call for people that could drive parcels around Brighton, and so I just said, yeah, I'd love to do that. Ended up driving food deliveries around Brighton with Emily, who's and Time to Talk Befriending. And through that process, I was just helping. And I met Emily and the charity, and I got to know them, and they found out I was a tech person and an accountant. And so she said, oh, come and help me. I need help. So I went and I helped them, and all I had to do was, it was easy for me. I just built them a couple of spreadsheets to help them with some reporting, help them with get with some of the data that they needed to get some grants. And so that helped them, and I absolutely love that. It's just something fantastic about when you help somebody else with something that seems easy to you, but to them, they're really struggling. And that actually birthed. You never know what that's going to birth. And so what that birthed in me was this whole. I just became aware of this whole segment of the market in smaller business where there was this problem, this need. And I'd been working on that problem, but for very large companies. And so it just sowed a seed in me, and that ultimately, about a year and a half later, had me ready to take the step out of comfy job, out of salary, into, okay, I'm going to go after this dream. I'm not going to earn a salary for a year. I'm going to pay for 13 people to work on this project for ages. But I felt, that birthed a seed. And so you just never know what you're going to get when you offer to help. And you never know what you're going to get when you ask for help either.
That's really good, Simon. Why do you think it is, speaking to anyone, why do you think it is that in the way that we live, we can find it really hard to ask for help? It can be daunting, it can be maybe embarrassing. What is it that you think stops us from asking for help, and how do you think we create a community where we feel comfortable asking each other?
Can I speak? Yeah. I think pride can get in the way sometimes. I can speak personally on that. You can be proud. You can think, yes, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And if you get a degree, some success in that, you can just try to do things on your own. But then you come across situations and circumstances where you can't do it on your own. And so I think humility is an antidote for that, clearly, and that is very biblical, isn't it, about God gives grace to the humble. I think our culture historically has been one, of pursuing your individual dream, the American dream type thing, the pioneer mentality. I think upbringing sometimes cuts across asking for help, British stiff upper lip and all that sort of stuff. I think a big one, though, in churches is previous experiences where they've been negative, where maybe we've opened up to people and then things haven't gone well as a consequence of that. So I think those things don't help. So I think, looking at the positive, I think it's key that we lead by example. I've done a bit just now. We build trust. We're confidential. I'm a big one about confidentiality. Ruth gets very frustrated with me because I don't tell her anything. But I'm a big believer in confidentiality as well when someone shares something quite personal. And being part of a smaller group definitely facilitates that.
Yeah, I never know anything that's going on in life because he never tells me anything. And then everyone assumes I know, and I have to sort of... I think for me, I think there's certain areas of my life where I'd feel really embarrassed to ask someone to help. I think, feel really stupid. I think when you kind of are good at some things, maybe, and you kind of have this, whatever, to actually say, well, I really can't do that. Can you help me with that? And then people to judge, and ultimately it's about being rejected, and someone would think badly of you. I'll give you one example. Trouble is, if I say this, he's going to follow me up all the time now. Okay, I could sit with you now and do a beautiful budget. I'd be very good at that. But would I ever keep it? No. No. My priorities are not around not spending money. And, but you have to say the hours I've spent feeling ashamed and feeling if only I hadn't done this or if only I hadn't done that. There's more than just the practical things we can gain from others. There's the why do you do that? Or can I pray with you? Or what's God saying? And I think within Thrive, there are aspects we want to bring in as well. So it's body, soul, and spirit involved in some of these changes we want to make. So that, we're going to need people to help us. So, yeah.
Yes. Asking for help is very hard. I had 3 thoughts on this one. So, 1, we remember where our help comes from. 2, you don't know what you don't know. And 3, you get more as you give more. So, on the first one, even this week I had a story. On Thursday, I just sometimes, on this experience that I'm on, it's very off the beaten track. I don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time. Some days, it's very stressful. And Thursday, I really felt that. I just woke up, and there was just this weight of like, Simon, you left your job, you're not earning salary, you've got 13 people that rely on you for all this stuff, and it was just a heavy weight. And so sometimes it's just good to remember where our help comes from. And so I like to go out for a walk in the morning, go and get a coffee, listen to some worship music, and there's this fantastic song. And the lyrics were just perfect. It was just, don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high. Don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth. God is madly in love with you. Take courage. Hold on. Be strong. Remember where our help comes from. So all of us as Christians, we can always just stop, just take a moment and just ask for help. And I, as a Christian, struggled with that for so many years because I just thought I had to do it on my own. So that was the first thing. You can always do that anytime. And then but I'm quite a deaf Christian, so I don't really hear specific advice from God. It's just not how I roll. So that's where we then rely on community to help speak to us. And they might hear something and be able to speak to us. So that's why I think this is really great. So you don't know what you don't know. So asking for help is hard. Sometimes pride gets in the way because you think, I'll look like a failure if I ask that question. That's just such a dumb question to ask. But sometimes it's better to just actually, I'm just going to ask you a question. I don't need you to know that I'm smart. I'm just going to ask, and I'm just going to listen to the answer. Because you just don't know what you don't know, and you're never going to learn unless you are. So that's the third one. And then in community, you get more as you give more. So the other thought I had was sometimes to get help, you can just offer help to others. And through building a relationship, you'll get to the point, you just go up to someone and just say, how can I help you? What can I do for you? And then serve. And then through that, they'll probably get to the point where they'll see you, they'll know you, and then they will be able to help you back. So that's a thought as well.
I think something that is really a challenge to us too is when people come and ask for help, the way we respond is incredibly important. How do we build it in a community where we're comfortable to ask each other for help? It's by the way we respond when people do ask for help. And what is challenging for somebody else might not be challenging for you, but that doesn't mean it's not challenging for them. I remember a few weeks ago, I had a couple of interactions with people on one day. And we had someone in a house who was saying, if we don't find £300 a month more, then we're going to have to sell our house and move. And I'm thinking to myself, that's awful that they would think about moving for £300 a month. And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying to find thousands to facilitate a move, and that's what's stressful to me. And then I want to call to a friend, and he was trying to find 8 million for a business deal. And I'm just like, wow, 8 million. And he's thinking thousands, that's nothing. That's nothing. And so I think the way that we respond when people ask for help is super important. And really just being humble and being helpful and open is really important. It's, Jesus teaches us that it's more blessed to give than to receive. What examples do we have of that in our lives? And how do you think we benefit? How is it more blessed for us to give as we help people on their journey?
I'll just give one very quick example of this. The trouble is, when you do this sort of thing, it makes it sound like you're blowing your own trumpet. But anyway, I'll say it anyway. I was working in a pharmacy on Friday. I did a 10-hour shift from 8:30 to 6:30. And someone was referred to us. I'm allowed to keep it very confidential. Someone contacted the pharmacy because they'd been referred to us by their GP surgery. And, they needed help. And very fortunately, the GP surgery was actually next door to the pharmacy. So I actually had a chat with the person and gave them 10 minutes, which they actually found, they were in tears. And it really helped them just to be able to offload a bit. But they needed more than what I could give. They needed some medical attention. So I actually walked into the surgery with them. And I said to the receptionist, this person needs an appointment now. And they got one, and, an hour later, a prescription came through for them, and they went home with their tablets. So, that's again, I say that's not bigging me up, but it's just when you're in a situation where you can do something, then do it. When someone's asking for help, let's do it. Let's give willingly. Let's give generously. Let's give graciously. Because, yeah, sometimes we have things which other people don't have, and we can just take it for granted. But by giving that, we can make a difference to their lives.
Very quickly, I think, there's times I'm a very busy person. I do apologise to you all for rushing around. But there are times when I just feel, no, stop, listen to this person. And, yeah, just a couple of conversations where somebody's come back to me and just said, I now see what to do. And I think, well, I didn't do anything. I just maybe asked a few questions and help them look at options. So time, like with Simon, I think. And that's what Thrive's about, really.
Yeah, I think there's something really tremendous about giving. That in the Bible it talks about being, it's more blessed to give than to receive, which is quite a difficult thing generally, because it's easy to say it, it's harder to feel it. I'd love to give you this, but I would love to spend that money and do this with it. That would be really good. But there are really times. So a good example this week. It was my birthday yesterday. Thank you. But I wanted to do something. So Amina was like, "Yeah, we should do something special for your birthday." And I really wanted to. So I love snowboarding. Snowboarding is the passion of my life after the kids and the church. Say that. And Armonair. And the kids and Armonair. The kids and Armonair. That should have been joined. Thank you, Jared. Thank you.
Just saving the conversation for later.
We need community. So snowboarding. So she was like, "Yeah, we could go snowboarding for the birthday." And so we booked. But I've always wanted to get the kids onto a snowboard. It's hard to do it. It's hard to do. So we booked them on a lesson, and then we booked me a chance to go snowboarding. And all week, I've been so excited about the kids going on their lesson, way more than me getting on my board. Mainly just because I remember the joy. Like when you teach, when you see somebody learning, when you're involved in that, you remember the joy that you went through when you do it. And so as they're all week long, they've been bouncing around on this practice snowboard I've got in the house, falling over, breaking things. But all week I've just had this amazing joy about the idea of taking the kids and helping them to learn. It was way more satisfying than me riding the snow down this horrible slope in Milton Keynes, which is short and not very fun to ride on compared to a mountain. But yes, it is more blessed to give and help others on their journey, and I really felt that this week through that.
I'd really encourage everyone to have goals for giving. I'm not talking about just giving money. I'm talking about for giving in your life, giving of yourself. I think, I remember years ago, Hannah and I wanted to buy our first house, and there were some people in the church, a couple of couples, who loaned us the deposit money to be able to get on the ladder and buy our first house. And I thought, how amazing. And I remember, we said, one day we're going to be able to do this for other people. And a couple of years ago, we were able to do that. And it was the biggest joy for us. And we've set goals we want to do this for more people. We want to be able to help people in this way. We want to be able to help families that are going through this and this and that. We can set goals and do that. I wonder if you can tell us, how do we access Thrive? How do we get on board? Whether we want to be helping people or accessing help.
I think that's really great. If you do want to help people, then head to the Next Steps Lounge, or head to the Next Steps Lounge, or email us if you're online. If you want help with something, you can go to the QR code, which is on your chair. Go to the website. Go to the Next Steps Lounge. There is a form there, very simple. Oh, there we go. a form. It's very simple, and you can just tick a box, and that just helps us to organise where we connect with. So, whatever that might be. Then the next thing, that's it really. I think that's it really, Jared. So talk to us if you're unsure. QR code, website. If you're a bit unsure, go and talk to your home group leader or team leader. They can come with you or a friend, and we can set something up confidentially, obviously.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, how about we stand? Let's thank these guys. I want to just pray as we finish today for us in community, that this really would be an outworking of a greater function of community, as we operate together. Thank you, Jesus, that you place us in community and that your desire is for us to do life together, not in isolation, but surrounded by people. Lord, we thank you that you have a plan and a purpose for our lives. And Lord, we thank you that we're in a place where we can come and ask for help and ask for assistance to help fulfill that plan, to help us on that journey. Lord, I pray today that you would really give every person in here a heart for helping. Lord, that you would give every person in here a desire to live beyond ourselves. Lord, that we would really get that heart, your heart, Jesus, for helping people. Lord, I pray for people in this place who need help. Lord, give us courage to speak up. Lord, give us a boldness to say, I'm tired of being in this situation and I'm going to ask for help.